Today I am going to discuss about emergence delirium in pediatric patients. 2 weeks ago, I had to anesthetize a child for cochlear implant. During the recovery, I noted child is markedly irritative and shows some features of psychomotor agitations. Child is markedly irritative and shows some features of psychomotor agitation. Then I thought it may be due to part of pain. Then I give additional painkillers to my patients. But in spite of painkillers, my patient shows marked irritative features and agitative features as well. Then I thought it may be due to part of emergence delirium. The emergence delirium they defined as after discontinuation of the anesthetic agent, the patient shows dissociative state of consciousness. Dissociate state of consciousness after discontinuation of anesthetic agent is the definition for emergence delirium. Then I carried my child into the recovery area. Nurses also unhappy about the patient and me. Nurses unhappy. Why? Why nurses unhappy? They have to have additional nurse to see this child separately. Sometimes one nurses may not be able to look after the patient, 2 or 3 nurses may need. And mother also unhappy about me. She is looking at her patient and me time to time. I am also distressing with that. Nurses unhappy, mother also unhappy. Not only that, after about 5 minutes, child cannula also came to out because child is irritative and aggressive. Cannula came to out. Not only cannula, dressing also came out. Dressing also now get upset. Somehow we send the child to the ward. Then after about 2 weeks, I give a call to mother and ask how is child. Mother said child still shows some maladaptive features. After about 2 weeks, it still shows some maladaptive features. Then I ask, what are the features you noted? He says some sleep disturbances is there. And some eating disorders. Sleeping disturbances, some eating disorders, and in addition to that, child may show some behavioral abnormalities. Some behavioral abnormalities. 1/4 of patient who having emergence delirium may show maladaptive features even after 2 weeks. May show maladaptive features even after 2 weeks. Those are sleep disturbances, eating disturbances and some behavioral changes. Then I go through the BHT. I want to identify whether my patient actually having emergence delirium or not. For that, I am going to use pediatric anesthesia emergence delirium scale. Pediatric anesthesia emergence delirium scale. Number 1 said, if your patient during the recovery area or recovery time, whether your patient having proper eye contact with guardian, caregiver or mother. The eye contact with mother. If your patient having proper eye contact, I am going to give 0 mark for that. No eye contact at all, I am going to give 4 marks. No eye contact at all, I am going to give 4 marks. Then, if your child have had purposeful action during the recovery area, purposeful action, I am going to give 0 mark. Not at all, I am going to give 4 mark. Purposeful movement, not at all during the recovery time. Number 3. Aware around surrounding. Aware about surrounding. Not at all, I am going to give 4 marks. Yes, I am going to give 0 marks. Number 4, restlessness. Not at all, I am going to give 0 marks. If child is restless, I am going to give 4 marks. Then excessive crying. Number 5, excessive crying or inconsolable crying. Inconsolable crying. I am going to 4 mark. If child having inconsolable crying, I am going to give 0 mark if no crying at all. What I am going to do is, I am going to assess the amount of delirium, emergence delirium in my patients, whether my patient having emergence delirium or not. For that, I am going to use pediatric anesthesia emergency delirium scale. If child has proper eye contact with mother, I am going to give 0 mark. Not at all, I am going to give 4 marks. Purposeful action, I am going to give 0 mark if child had purposeful action. Not at all, I am going to give 4 marks. In between 1, 2, 3 is there. And awareness about surrounding, I am going to give 0 mark if child is fully aware. If not, I am going to give 4 marks. Not at all. Restlessness, I am going to give 4 mark. Not at all, I am going to give 0 mark. Insolable crying, I am going to give 4 marks. Not at all, I am going to give 0 marks. Here, total marks is about 20 marks. Out of 20, if your patient having more than 12 mark, you can say 100% sensitivity is there and about 95% of specificity. Yeah, your child is having emergence delirium. You can say 100% sensitivity with the 100% sensitivity and 95% specificity, your patient is having emergence delirium in the recovery area. Actually saying, my child has poor eye contact and he does not have any awareness about surrounding and he is restless and no purposeful action at all and inconsolable crying also there. Out of 20 was there in my child. Then I am checking what are the adverse events of having emergence delirium. Actually saying, these are the adverse events having emergence delirium. Nurses, staff, all are unhappy about me and patients because the theatre list may be prolonged and the nurses also have to do extra duty. And the mother also unhappy about me and cannula, dressing, those are can removed. And sometimes 1/5 of patient who having emergence delirium, 1/4 of patient who having emergence delirium may show some maladaptive features even after 2 weeks. It can adversely affect their learning as well. Then what I am going to do is, I want to check who are the people who having high risk of developing emergence delirium. Who are the patient having high risk of developing emergence delirium. Patient age group 2 to 7 here, they found to have high incidence of emergence delirium. 2 to 7 having high incidence of emergence delirium. And some patient with some medications, psychotic medications, also having high risk of developing emergence delirium. Some psychotic medications and 2 to 7 years. And some pre-existing disease also. Some pre-existing disease can give rise to high incidence of emergence delirium. Those are called patient factors. If you want to take more mark in the exam, you have to categorize. Sometimes nothing to categorize, but you have to categorize. In that case, how are you going to categorize? Then you can categorize mark answers which are relevant to question and answers which are not relevant to questions, then examiners will happy. He don't want to look at the answers which are not relevant to questions. So those are the patient factors. In addition to that, some surgical factors. Some surgical factors are there. Some surgeries are associated with high incidence of emergence delirium. ENT surgeries having highest incidence, while urological surgeries having least incidence, then abdominal surgeries in between. Abdominal surgeries in between. When coming to surgical factors, my patient undergo cochlear implant, unfortunately, ENT surgeries having high risk, age group also a 5-year-old child, age group also very compatible with high risk. And in addition to that, not on any medication in my child. So those are the patient factors, those are the surgical factors. We'll come into anesthetic factors. When coming to anesthetic factors, they found to have volatile agent associated with high incidence of emergence delirium. Volatile agent, especially sevoflurane. Actually saying, the sevoflurane can have rapid effect and rapidly remove the effect. Because of that, your patient can develop emergence delirium. So volatile agent associated with high incidence. Not only that, pain also associated with high incidence, and emergence duration also. If your patient having prolonged emergence duration adversely affect with emergence delirium. Those are the factors which increase the incidence of emergence delirium. Patient factors, surgical factors and anesthetic factors. Now I want to reduce the emergence delirium. Because of that incidence, everyone in the theatre also unhappy about me, and mother also unhappy about me, because of my anesthetic technique and the things patient develop, they think patient develop emergence delirium, it adversely affect the patient outcome. So because of that, now I am going to do what are the method available to reduces the incidence of emergence delirium. During the preoperative period, when I am assessing the child in the preoperative time, I would like to prescribe prevention of emergence delirium. During the preoperative time or preoperative checkup, I would like to prescribe anxiolytic premedication for child. Anxiolytic premedication mean midazolam. But unfortunately, what they found is midazolam does not reduce the incidence of or severity of the incidence of emergence delirium. But still I would like to prescribe because it found to have, it reduces the duration of maladaptive behavior of the child. Previously I told 1/4 of child who had emergence delirium can have maladaptive behavior even after 2 weeks. But after giving midazolam, that maladaptive behavior is roughly about 1 week is there, not 2 weeks. That duration of maladaptive behavior can reduce with the premedication of midazolam. In addition to that, during the anesthetic management, during the anesthesia, I would like to prescribe clonidine or dexamethasone for my child. They found to have it reduces the incidence of emergence delirium. In addition to that, here volatile anesthetic agent associated with high incidence of emergence delirium. I would like to prescribe total intravenous anesthesia for my patient. Sometimes small child with a total intravenous anesthesia by using propofol may not be a good option. Because of that, at the end of the sevoflurane, I would like to start propofol infusion 3 milligram per kilogram propofol infusion for 3 minutes, then I am going to stop that. It will reduce the incidence of emergence delirium. That means we ask from the surgeon, please tell 3 minutes before stopping the surgery. Then what I am going to do is, I am going to stop the sevoflurane infusion 3 minutes before ending the surgery. I am going to start propofol infusion, 3 milligram per kilogram infusion. I am going to run that infusion within 3 minutes. So I am going to start propofol infusion at the end of the surgery, 3 milligram per kilogram propofol infusion over 3 minutes. They found how it reduces the incidence of emergence delirium. In addition to that, you can add fentanyl, remifentanil, alfentanil or sulfentanyl. Those analgesics that also can reduce the incidence of emergence delirium. Here one of the factor for emergence delirium, one of the positive factor for emergence delirium is pain. By adding several analgesic agents, you can reduce the incidence of emergence delirium. In addition to that, you can use gabapentin. And you can use the ketamine. But ketamine can associated with some nightmares and some disturbing behavior in high dose. Nightmare and dreaming. But in the analgesic dose, it is one of the best drugs to prevent the emergence delirium. In addition to that, you can use some kind of non-pharmacological method. Those are called pharmacological method because we are going to use drug to prevent the emergence delirium. Pharmacological. You can use non-pharmacological method to prevent the emergence delirium. What are the non-pharmacological method to prevent emergence delirium? You can do the acupunctures. Japanese and Chinese studies shows acupuncture reduces the incidence of emergence delirium. Number 2, video distraction. A small child loving videos, some phones also, some tab, they are loving. By giving those things, we can distract child. Those distractions found to have effective in management of or reducing the incidence of emergence delirium. Another one is ride on toy car. How it helps? Actually, child is totally in different world when he ride in a car and come into the theater inside. It will reduce the anxiety. It will reduce the emergence delirium subsequently. So I can reduce the emergence delirium by using drug called pharmacological method and non-pharmacological method. That is all about emergence delirium management in pediatric. I will discuss about adult delirium in later.